Hello again, and thank you, Nahuel, for joining us. And well, I had watched Luis Ortega's previous film, El Ángel, and I loved it, and it was very different to things that you see regularly, and I thought I was prepared for this film. Were you? I was not.
Because you only saw El Ángel.
Probably.
Yeah, you haven't seen all his previous films. El Ángel is an... Have you seen El Ángel by Luis Ortega? The Argentinian, yeah?
It was distributed here.
Ah, okay, because she's talking about a film that when you look at the filmography of Luis Ortega is the most mainstream or classical, sort of narrative film that he made. The first feature film in which we collaborated was called Lulu, and it's way less narrative, and some other films that he made were even more experimental, formal, and crazy. So I understand that if you saw El Ángel, you thought that you were ready to watch a new film by Luis Ortega, and you get to see Kill the Jockey, El Jockey, and you're a bit, right?
So how did you get involved in this? How did it feel when you read the script?
So I've known Luis for like maybe 20 years. We were living in the same neighborhood in Buenos Aires, but we never really met. So he told me that he saw me going to the metro station, and we were like sort of roaming about without really meeting. And then we got to work together once, first time for a TV series episode, and then we shot Lulu. And then when he sent me a script for this film, which was back in 2018, I read a completely different script from what we saw tonight. And I admire Luis, and we understand each other so well. I would accept any film by Luis without even reading the script, even if it's a failure. I don't care. Just the process of working with him is so inspiring. We were talking with the dear jury members, while you were watching the film, and I was telling them, Luis is like this sort of hidden, mysterious, discreet wizard that allows the impossible to happen on a set, and nobody really knows why it's happening, how it's happening. It's really mysterious, and it's really inspiring, like a shamanic sort of, very, I don't know, deep power that sort of emerges every single day. And he keeps everyone around so magnetized and creative. Everybody feels a protagonist of the whole process. So it's hard to describe. So I read the first version of the script when, actually, he first asked me for a photo. I was shooting a film in Belarus. I sent a selfie. I was like a Second World War film. I was all in costumes. And then he sent me back a drawing like a few hours later, and it was Watermelon Head. It's like, wow, okay, what are you working on? It's like, I have an idea, okay. Then he sent me a script that was only Watermelon Head. Actually, that was the name of the film, Cabeza de Sandía, which was about this watermelon head roaming about Buenos Aires in this sort of, very contemplative, and he was being followed by like not 3-4 kids, but by hundreds of kids. He was like a guru, sort of crazy, figure in this film. And then he started going to the horses. He met jockeys, and then he thought, well, maybe this guy with this bandage, he could be a jockey that has an accident. So he sent me a new version of the script. So versions, different versions of the script kept coming. Until I got the last version, the shooting version of the script, maybe 1 month before shooting, and I get to the prison, and it's Dolores. I'm like, okay. Well, I had already signed contract. I was ready to go shoot. I was like, yeah, Luis, sure. I was ready for everything. So it was a very, changing like script. And I think it reflects what the film is about. So I was ready for everything. I was ready to be, transformed and to evolve, even if it would go even further. It's a film about transformation and transmutation, and yeah, I love him.
I see. Well, and it sounds that is really a unique experience working with him. So I can
Absolutely.
understand.
Doesn't compare.
There is a scene that is really magic. The dancing, the scene where you dance with Ursula Corberó. Can you tell us about how you shot this? How this, if you coordinated, if it was spontaneous, can you tell us a bit?
So Luis doesn't really like rehearsing a lot. I would say that we just had a reading, like a crew reading with all the actors and, head of departments. So the only rehearsals that we did for this film was the dancing, and it wasn't even about blocking the moves, and properly rehearsing in terms of, okay, this is what we're going to do. It was just a space for exploration, for improvisation, for getting to know each other with Ursula. And I was like so happy that he decided to go that road. You don't talk about the characters, or you talk a lot, but you say very few things, not so much. And the fact that the main rehearsal space was dancing, it was great because, you can't really fake a dance. Either you are with the person, in front of you, or you're alone, or you step on each other. So dancing, moving, whatever it's called, because I don't know if we're dancing or, but that, finding that connection, that presence with the actress was like the best. Because, Ursula Corberó, she's a very famous, she's a big celebrity in Spain. And, I work with some stars, but it's always like a thing, when you're like, oh, I hope that she's keeping some humanity, and, all those pre-assumptions that we have around stars. So dancing, you feel it or you don't feel it. So we included some moves that Luis wanted me to do, like this thing when I get, on stage, let's say. So everybody was sort of chipping in, and it was a very collaborative process. But we just improvised. The whole thing is improvised.
Well, perhaps the magic is there.
Yeah.
In that improvisation.
Yeah, and the sort of the fact that he allowed us, to be fully, present, creative, without any pressure.
The aesthetics are impressive. How did he work with the cinematographer, the costume designer? Did you have any say in the costumes that you were wearing? This is, I don't feel this comfortable in these colors, this coat, this thing on the head. How did you?
I'm very participative. Do we say that word? I say, I really participate in the process without being super, respectful and, curious about what the other people are doing. And I'm very specific. For example, with my costume, the only thing you see that there are only two outfits, right? The last part of the film in which I wear the red and white, and the first one. The last costume that I wear was worn by a real jockey back in the 60s. I don't really know the story, but I think that he was sort of saved by Luis's father, who's a very popular singer that sings a few songs in this film called Palito Ortega.
No.
Palito is Luis's father.
Sorry, I'm a big fan of Palito Ortega.
Really? Yeah.
But I didn't know that it was the director's father.
Yeah.
Okay.
A mí me pasa lo mismo que a usted. That's Palito and many other songs.
Okay.
And actually there was a big dance, a big choreography on stage, in the theater, not the theater, but when they were selling the horses, there was a big, sort of a dream that Watermelon Head was having, in which Sirena was proposing him, he wanted to get married, and it's a song by Palito, which was... I'll try and find the song because it's a very funny song that Palito made. Anyway, so the costume, the jockey, what I wear in the end of the film was pure silk. And you can tell, how it bounces back the light, the texture is so delicate. But what jockeys are wearing nowadays is, of course, 100% polyester.
Yeah.
And it shines very differently and it feels very differently. And I was, making comments about just the quality, not the quality, the material of, but I mean, they were doing what everybody does today because it's a contemporary film, and you get what you get, and it's part of the film. But I was very, this is gonna shine differently on the screen. But very little details, not more than that. But we were working with Timo Salminen, DOP for Aki Kaurismäki. So we were shooting a film in Buenos Aires with Ursula from Spain, with Daniel from Mexico, with Mariana from Chile. We had the DOP from Finland. So it was a very eclectic crew. And Timo is like very silent, very precise. He's very obsessive with lights and things. And Luis was a bit sometimes he was like, yeah, Timo, do what you want. So the whole shooting was very silent and very respectful. But at the same time, Timo was the person I was, close to because he was right behind the camera. He was doing the frame, everything. And it was a very technical shoot because the lights that he uses on set are very precise. Sometimes he's like doing like one little shade in the back, and if you're like 10 centimeters, ahead, you miss it. So many things were very artificial, let's say, and I really like it when it's, when we take artificiality as also as a means towards truth and life. Yeah. So it was, very a bit schizophrenic. It was like going in and out all the time from this very structured space full of marks and things. You had to hit the mark every time. But at the same time giving, the necessary space for this, sort of, special state in which the characters are. And also the acting language of the film is not very extroverted, so we had to be very minimalistic, and there was some sort of, musicality, and, it's a bit of a score, the way the film is done, I would say.
Well, I think the result is beautiful and really impressive. And do we have any question from the audience? Yes, we have two here at the front.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed the film. I loved it. I just would like to ask you, how did you prepare for a role like this? Because it's completely off the wall and very poetic at the same time. So it's very schizo. And I would like to know how you prepare for that. Very schizo.
I love that word. Well, when there's, even if you want to prepare ahead, you get the script with Dolores appearing in the script like maybe 20 days before shooting. So I would say that preparing, for example, Dolores, which of course is like the toughest thing to, it's a big leap. When you read that, you're like, okay, I hope that we believe in this crazy change. I don't know if it's crazy. It's just like, it's radical. Even though the film, I think in the end, it sort of accepts all that trajectory. So spending time with doing things, that's the best way that you can prepare a character, I would say. Doing the things that they do. I was riding horses for 2 weeks, and riding a horse as a jockey it's not easy because your body's not touching the animal, so you're like sort of like bouncing on your knees, and it's like a whole different, system of muscles they get in action, and that affects the way you walk. Even though, we don't see much of the races, it gives you, lots of different, things that you then incorporate in the character. And then Dolores was like, we spend so much time, wearing wigs, this wig, not that wig, this extension, this hair, this color, makeup. We spend really, I would go with the costume and makeup artist like every 2 days, and we would spend like a few hours until we found what we were looking for. So that process, that sort of internal, external search that you're doing, it's part of what that then you end up being before the camera. And then many things that we do. actors that I don't really want to know what they are. Because if you put words on things, maybe you kill them. Imagination, talking a lot with Luis. Luis is very philosophical and crazy, super inspiring. So you talk a lot, but you say very few things with Luis, you know? Everything is about orbiting the topics. And then at one point when you're on set with Luis, all that sort of crystallizes somewhere. And once we were shooting, and I remember the first day, I think, of shooting, we were shooting the lockers, and I was, you know, I had to drink and smoke. Impossible, you know, like multiple actions. You're just first day on the set, you're super tense, and then when it gets physical and that precise, that's a mission. And I see that Luis has this notebook, like full of notes. Remo. And I'm like, Luis, what's that? Ah, some notes. No, that's a book. You never shared it with me. You already know it all. Relax. So, you know, is it conscious the way you create characters? Do you create them? You just let them come into you? I don't know. I'm very chaotic. I don't have instructions. Because the film also needs a specific approach. If I work in another film, the approach that I also, you know, apply to the character, whatever it's called, creation, research, it's going to be different. Because you're always trying to be also in, you know, aligned with what the director is trying to, you know, to turn on in a way.
We had another question here.
The film was amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Watching it felt a bit like sort of reading a magical realism book, like a classic Latin American, like Garcia Marquez or something like this. Do you think that this might have been an influence for Luis? And when you were reading it, did you feel like that kind of influence?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you see it, I see it too. And yeah, of course. It's not something that he speaks about. He's a big reader. He reads, you know, a lot. Those that might have read some, you know, Argentinian literature, there's a lot of Roberto Arlt and, you know, many, of course. It's like a multi-layered, you know, universe created out of many, many different things. And I'm sure that many of the dialogues maybe come, you know, they stem out from a word or a phrase of a book that he read, and then it's like this big mashup of all that, you know, that he digested in a way. Yeah, but it's not a clear approach that we took, you know, when we were shooting the film. We were not telling each other we're doing a surreal film or a, you know, magical realism, no. But yeah, of course, there are many elements. And you keep discovering them. When you see the film again, you're like, oh, you know, it unfolds endlessly.
We have 2 more questions over there.
That's great. You have many questions. Sometimes you have to like, okay, no? Shall we go?
Oh. Hi, first of all, Que Peliculón, incredible movie, amazing. I'm from Chile, and just seeing a film in Spanish is, I'm not really, I guess, exposed to a lot of Latin American movies living here, so it's amazing to see this. And one of my questions
Thank you, Joanna, for this festival that allows us to watch films like this.
It's amazing.
It's teamwork.
A recurring theme that I saw was the weighing of the jockeys with the saddles, and then you have the baby when it's born and it's weighed. What is that thematic? What does that theme speak to you? What does that mean to you?
You want me to explain the film?
No, I know there's no answer, but I just found it curious because I thought that was very interesting. And I don't know if that is something jockeys actually do before going on races.
Ah, okay. Some do. You know that you have to be very thin, very light to be a jockey. Even I am overweight to be a jockey. I'm like 54 kilograms, and I think that they have to be 50 or something like that. So sometimes they throw up. I mean, those are things that people told me, of course, you know, in Buenos Aires, underground, horse racing, I don't even know, but I was super like, really? They wear synthetic clothes and they go running for like an hour so that they lose water. So sometimes they run dehydrated to reach, you know, the exact weight that they need to have. And then if they are like, you know, party people, I don't know, I cannot really tell. But I know that they're very wild. I met, you know, a few of them, and you know, all the extras and people that were working. And some of them, they had had an accident like a month before, and they were telling me, "Oh yeah, I broke like 7 bones." I'm like, "You're walking? Yeah, we recover fast." So it's like a different sort of, you know, species. They're very intense and, you know, adrenaline. I mean, I'm sorry, you're like running at 70, 80 kilometers an hour. Can you imagine that? In association with an animal that's like 2 meters high?
A lot of ketamine, maybe.
Huh?
A lot of ketamine, maybe.
For horses, for sure.
Amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hola. Hi.
Hola.
From Argentina, Pamela. I just wanted to thank you for this film. It was incredible. Your acting, I haven't seen anything like this in a long, long time. Honestly, it's incredible. And to learn that you only found out that you had to play a woman 20 days, or you know, a woman or whatever. Sorry, I don't mean to generate any controversy. But only 20 days before, it's incredible. And such a treat for us being Argentinians to see. This is such an Argentinian film. It's so nuanced. You at the beginning, you picking up your Freudian slip. You know, everyone's in therapy in Argentina, so even the jockey. It's very moving and very, very grateful. Very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very Argentinian, Buenos Aires, porteño film without being a very porteño film, right? And that's something I really love about this film. It's like everybody can see some sort of Buenos Aires, but it's a Buenos Aires that slips away, that nobody can really contain, right?
Yeah, it's a shame that in English the she, you know, treating you as a her, starts early on, and in English you lose it. So that's a shame. But obviously the film leads to
many Pano words in the film. There's
a
one
lot,
that's
yeah.
great, though, for those who
the
speak
bird
Spanish.
one.
The puerco.
Yeah.
Which one?
You saw the subtitles?
Ah.
Por su puerco, she says, of horse. That's amazing. But then some are, you know, impossible
I love the
to
bird
translate.
one, which is a very common thing to say to a child, and then there's a bird there. Mira el pajarito.
Yeah,
y
but that's...
y hay un pájaro, de verdad.
Thank you.
I actually first saw this film in the Tokyo Film Festival some time ago. I don't know how long it takes to get these films released, but it's really nice to see it here. I really had just 2 observations. One is that some of it reminded me a lot of Wes Anderson with some of the symmetry in the shooting. And my other observation was that the actors, they seem much older actors than I sort of expect to see in the film, and their faces are so strong. Is this normal for Argentinian film, or is this the style, or is this? Well, I'm sorry, that's how it struck me. So, or is this just the style of the director, or what?
We are very old in Argentina, you know. Crisis is tough. I'm an exception. I'm 70 years old, and I'm still quite fresh. Real characters, I don't know. Old actors, they do exist, and they deserve to be celebrated. And Luis is a great guy in the way that he explores the city, and many of the, maybe not the main actors, but some, characters that you see everywhere are like some, random people from the city that he, gets to know, and he develops some sort of intimacy, and then he brings them in the set. So the set is not a fiction professional actors space. There's always like an element, a disruptive element, and that's something I love. Like the guy that takes care of the baby, he's a very special guy, like a bit wacky, and just having him on the set was like the best we could have. Like the energy changes because everybody's, some sort of expecting something to happen or not. And what happens on screen, it's amazing. You give him the baby and the baby falls asleep right away. And only a person like him can do that. And old people, old faces, beautiful landscapes to watch. Does that answer your question? I don't know, but...
I think so. I liked it, but it just struck me as being different to movies that I had seen before, so that was interesting to me.
Is it that in European, I don't know if you watch mainly European films, is it that in European films maybe old actors are like very secondary, or like they don't have like this sort of presence in films? I wonder.
I don't know. I just found the faces, particularly of, I don't want to call them the hitmen because they weren't hitmen, but they were just so strong and to me quite unusual looking. And the warden sort of is very strong face, strong. He's quite
and great
fat.
acting. Those are like the best actors we get in Buenos Aires. Like theater actors. Daniel Fanego, one of them died, and he's like a big, big presence. Those actors that are always like present on set, actors that don't fake it. They just land on the set and. So yeah, Luis, he had the chance, to pick them and bring them. And Carnaghi, the oldest one, that's sort of dancing with us. When we start dancing, he was about to refuse the film like 5 times. And Luis went with him. They had coffee once and over again. So yeah, Luis really worked in order for them to be part of this.
We had another question at the back.
Buenas noches. At the beginning of the film, you told us not to think too much or to try to understand it too much, the film. So while we're still digesting and everything that you just said, is there a reflection that you took from this project that you recommend us to go home and think about?
Experiences are too intimate to be indicated or described. I wouldn't like to pollute your experience with my own experience. I can tell you that I really enjoyed doing this film in a very profound way, because it's also about acting the film, about embodying, about playing, in the most vivid sense of the word. The notion of identity as a verb and not a noun, as a fixed thing and just as a practice. I don't know, it really inspired me, and it raised questions that I already had in mind when I read the script, and it was the perfect gift that, for me at that moment to undo things and sort of put everything into context. This system is, I don't know, always trying to categorize everything and fix everything and label everything. And this film is just like the explosion of like the total, opening to possibilities, and that we all have right now, right here. It's just that we're afraid maybe to practice them. At night, we dream. I'm sorry. Like we were talking earlier, we spend like maybe a third, a fourth of our lives or even more sleeping. And it's as if it was something that, doesn't exist. No, I just shut off the machine. Hi, how are you doing? Good morning. And it's like, every time I go to bed, I'm like, wow, now I'm going to be like in this darkness for like maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 hours. and we don't give the proper, presence in our awakened lives to all that big chunk of our lives. I don't know, I think that the film is constructed also in that sort of logic. But messages and interpretations of the film, no, I'm too bad for that. I don't even know what the film is about. And I don't care. But it's an experience, and that's what counts, I would say, right? I don't know. I want to think that argument and plots and everything that's overly, structured, I don't know. It's too far away from our most inner pulse as humans. But I think it has to do with the era in which we live. Everything has to be decoded right away, right? Like, not like. There's like this binary way of perceiving the human experience, and it's like insanely, faceted. And I think that this film is like a sort of a virus that arrives in this time, and it was the most watched film in Argentina last year. It was the entry for the Oscars. It's distributed by Disney Plus in Latin America. It's like the best misunderstanding that ever happened, right? Inoculating new ways of perception.
Do we have time for one more question? Just one.
Just one.
Who's the lucky lady over there?
Thank you so much for your performance in this film, which was fantastic. And
where are you?
Just in this row.
Hi.
And when I was thinking about your characters, you've said, and other people have said, he's very unique and he's fascinating, and he actually reminded me of a character that you played in a French film, Au revoir là-haut, and I just wondered if you saw any similarities between those characters at all.
Let me think about it. Well, yeah, it could be, in a way, coming from the tragedy and sort of creating himself like his own world, identity, and yeah, the way he shines, in a way. It's a very personal trajectory and very, against the current, in a way, right? Because the character you're mentioning of the French film could have been just like a tragic character going down the spiral and nothing else, or embodying like the tragedy, and then he really decides to make something out of that. And I think that Remo is like this sort of lotus flower coming from the mud, in a way. So yeah, I see the parallel, but I hadn't thought of that. Thank you for making the connection.
Well, we will have to leave this here, but we'll be back here at Cine Lumière next April with the spring weekend of the festival, and then with the 22nd edition of the festival next September. LondonSpanishFilmFestival.com, mailing list, social media to stay updated. And thank you very much. I cannot think of a better way to close this edition. Thank you.
I do. I can say something. Can I?
Venga.
I want to take advantage of this moment to congratulate the British government on the recognition of Palestine. It's great news that after 100 years, more than 100 years of the death sentence of the Palestinian people that they signed through the Balfour Declaration, they are back in action to recognize Palestine. And I was thinking today that maybe if their goal was to calm us down, maybe they could have just, I don't know, started off by stopping sending arms to Israel, cutting all the military economic ties, maybe landing the planes they have flying over Gaza and bring them back to Cyprus. What else? They could have maybe endorsed the proposal by Gustavo Petro, the Colombian president, that just proposed to sign you know, to pass this United for Peace resolution. Many other things, but we know them. You know, we know how history was. They're still occupying Islas Malvinas in Argentina. So I don't know. I hope that we still, you know, we will keep fighting for justice, for reparation. Yeah, for all the mess and the misery that was created and that is still being created, not only by the UK, by Europe, by the West in general. So yeah, free Palestine.
Absolutely.